I normally have my one sober to another hat on, but I decided not to wear that hat today because, you know what? I am one person talking to you guys about how to survive after rehabilitation. If you go to a 90-day treatment program, if you go to, in my case, I went to 7 weeks of rehabilitation. There are many more, up to a year, and depending on how much money you got available, hell, you can spend up to 2 years in rehabilitation if that's what you got to do. Here's my thing about rehab, right? Number one, when you are in rehab, you have a super opportunity. And what is that opportunity? Well, I responded to somebody this morning on social media, and I told him exactly this. I consider going to rehab quite similar to going to a garage to get your car repaired. You might go in for one thing, but you might have 1, 2, 3, 10 things going on in your life that are leading to your drinker high, and you have an option to either ask for some help there and work on the hard things while you got the car in the shop. Does that make sense for you? If so, give a thumbs up and drop a comment below, because I know quite a few people right out there right now, maybe left and right of you or you, who can use some help. So how do you survive after rehab? That answer is not simple, man. And I'm going to tell you why. Because for me, I told you I went to 7 weeks of rehab, and I stayed for the last week, an additional, that made 7. Yes, that's somewhat how I said that. For anger management, I had this huge compartmentalized problem with anger, regardless if it was, being drunk, being high, being, bored or whatever. Anger was always my kind of trigger point that led me in all the directions that I didn't need to go in my life. And I was harboring a bunch of stuff over my parents. I was harboring stuff over, failed relationships in the past and things of that nature, and things that would always fuel me in the wrong way. I was never satisfied with the anger that I felt, and I didn't know what to do with it. And so an alcoholic like me, I would drink over it, and I would drink to the point where I could no longer see, I could no longer function, I could no longer hear, and I definitely couldn't hear the opinions of other people. A lot of you are out there suffering from some of the same things, and going to rehab gives you the ability to work on those things as they come along in your life. And at that point in time where you have a captive audience of counselors, therapists, doctors, all those technicians that are there in order to work on you. Take advantage of that while you're there. But here's the scary thing, folks. Once you get off cloud 9, once you feel like you made it and you're whole and your skin is clear and you can breathe again and you're healthy and you've been to the gym and you've worked on yourself and you did all these things for all this time while you're in rehab, you got to leave. You got to leave at some point, because either the money's going to run out or your time is up and now you got to fly. Now you got to go on your own. For me, it was 2 days after I went to rehabilitation that I was drunk again. And to make that matter a little more detrimental, all that. To make that matter a little more impactful, I spent the 2 days, that the day I got out of rehab and the following day, with my wife and my son at our house here in Germany. I went back to my home station where I was working with the Army, and I ended up seeing a gas station that I used to pass every time I went home. And you know what? The brain said, oh man, you got to make a stop. Next thing I know, I have a rack of beer and I'm on the way to my apartment that is still full of empties and still full of old cases and still full of old food containers to remind me of what I used to be. I didn't do what I should have did before I left rehabilitation. The end result of all that, folks, is that I ended up drunk for another 2 years. And that is no bull, no BS. And a lot of us out there know exactly what that's like, because only 2%, folks, of people who go to rehabilitation survive. And, well, let me rephrase that. Only 2% of people who go to rehabilitation stay sober and learn to recover from that point on. The rest of us either fall back, relapse, die, or we have to work that much harder in order to find a solution that is going to work for us long term. Now, my solution was Alcoholics Anonymous. That might not be your thing, but here's what the point of this video is about. You have to set up a plan of action for when you actually leave. Now, granted, most rehabilitation centers, when you get ready to leave, are going to give you a piece of paper, and it's going to say, this is my plan of action in order to take when I leave this facility so that I don't drink again, or I don't use again, or whatever. So I filled that little piece of paper out, and I felt really good about myself, and I felt really good about my intentions and everything else. But at that end of the day, I was alone, and I was only accountable to me. So where did that leave me? That left me with, guess what? I've done the work in rehab for 7 weeks. I went and saw my wife. I went and saw my son. It's drink time. That's what my alcoholic brain said, and that's where it led me, folks. So what can you do to set yourself up for success when you leave rehab? Folks, I'm so proud of some people that are headed to rehab in the next coming week and the next coming 2 days. And I tell you what, if any of you need anything from me, hit me up. Let me know. I'll definitely shoot you a lifeline. So what can you do, though? So before you leave rehabilitation, seriously, call somebody that is close to you and that knows where you live and knows your routines, and ask them to safeguard you when you get back. Don't let you go buy alcohol or go score some dope. Get rid of all your dealers' phone numbers while you're there in rehab. Clear your phone completely. And if you can't do it, take it to somebody who can and have them delete all your damn contacts, because guess what? You don't need them anymore in your life. If you have those numbers in your phone, you're going to dial them, and it's going to happen before you even know it. So get rid of those. If you have empties or you have alcohol stashes at your house, chances are, if you're an alcoholic like me, you had alcohol stashed everywhere. Get rid of that crap completely. Call somebody sober, call somebody close who can help you, and get rid of it before you even get back to where you have to go. Because if you have that reminder there, you have an instant trigger of what life used to be like and what your solution was for handling things that you may not be processing so well on your departure out of rehab. Your feelings are going to be rushing all over the place. You're going to feel like you're on an emotional roller coaster that is going out of control. And you know, the one that's the slingshot? Here, take a look at that. Douche, straight up, right? And straight back down. That's the way you're going to feel for quite some time. And depending on your progress and recovery, I know mine was substantial, and it took me a long time in order to learn these skills and faculties that help me to deal with triggers as they come along. So if you're in that same rocking boat, man, set yourself up for success, because only 2%, like I said, get sober and stay sober. Getting sober is the easy part. You stop drinking, you stop using, you detox. Staying sober and learning to live in recovery, guess what? That takes support, and it takes you being proactive in your recovery. If this video has had any value for you, give a like or a thumbs down, whichever, how you feel. Thank you for subscribing to the channel for those who have. And if you haven't, folks, consider subscribing. Life is a garden. If you have any comments on this video, please drop them, and I definitely will respond. Dig it? I'm going to see you in the next one. Have a good day.